This is Chapter 8, The Unusual Education of My Three Kids and Their Adventures Right After College.
Very exposed life. Let's just say at 10 years old, me and my brother went to New York City by ourselves to buy firecrackers in Chinatown.
Even how come you people, your children, for instance, none of their friends or them ever go by themselves outside the house? What's different today?
I don't know. We just know more, I guess. I mean, the same amount of pedophiles exist today as they existed back then. But, I mean, we went to the racetrack. You know, he made bets for me. We were grounded and we knew right from wrong. But we also, had fun. And
he makes it sound like he ran wild, but no, I was a pretty strict father, and I balanced everything about his schoolwork and about going to the cultural advantages of living in New York City, like museums and animal zoos, where he learned about life, and only New York City could offer. And here he is in a really a different kind of a zoo in a way, learning about how animals live in certain circumstances. And I also took him to the unusual museums in the New York City area, where he got some feeling about what culture is, to balance some of these things that I let him get away with that he was talking about. All right, Brian, come on! I know you want to go to the library, you want to go to the concert, but you got to go to some museums also. Come, hold on to the camera. Take me. I'm gonna take you to the museum. Hold on to Brian. Give me back the camera. Thanks. And we're going to go into the museum. And this is very famous. And this goes with your cockfights and with your gambling in the casinos. But this gives you a little bit broader knowledge of the world. All right, Brian, we're going to go in. But don't grab any of the prophylactics or the vibrators. They're not for you. This is the bookstore. All right, Brian. This is part of your education. Those are not candles, but the museum has things like this. Let's see what else. Hey, my son is 13. Is that too young to get in here?
Way too young.
Wow, what's the minimum age?
18.
18. Oh, okay. Brian, stay with me. We're going to sneak in. Don't worry about it. And this is some of the exhibits in the museum that impressed Brian very much. And in fact, he asked me a few times on the tour if he can go back the next day and the day after that and the day after that. So I really like the idea that he picked up this cultural environment. I was really that kind of a father. Yeah, my three kids and I had a reunion in 2018 during March Madness, and we met in Las Vegas because Andra flew in from San Francisco. We came in from Jersey, and here we are in the back room, or the book room, where they take all the bets at the hotel in Las Vegas in 2018. And Andra really has a mathematical mind, and she really was good at picking the winners. Andra, what are you doing here? I said meet us at the library.
Oh, it's the Schneebald Library.
Are you teaching at this library?
Yes. And she'll bail you out of jail for all the pot.
But she lost so much money that she didn't feel well, and I got her in a taxi and told the driver to take us to the nearest dispensary, or a clinic dispensary. I said the wrong word, I think, because we ended up at the Reef Dispensary, which has a chain of 6 of them, and we're going in for some treatment. Only what I didn't realize, that 6 months before this event, the state of Nevada made recreational marijuana legal. And here we are buying pot. Now back to Eric. What Eric did, he wanted to get into show business because one semester he was out at L.A. for 12 credit course for Ithaca College in communication acting. And he worked as a gopher for Seinfeld and a couple other TV shows. But he lived in a dorm owned by the college and got 12 credits. But so he got the bug, and he wanted to stay in California, become an actor. But I made him come back because it's no good. And he became a professional poker player because he had a great mind for mathematics and even acting. and he's a professional poker player. I'm going to show you what he does for a living today.
96,
When did you get out of school?
94, 98.
So this must be around that 99, around 1999.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, 1999. Eric and I went to the casino, the Sands Casino in Atlantic City, to gamble a little bit. We saw a sign on the window or on the wall next to the registration that they had a tournament for poker that was called Texas Hold'em Poker Tournament. So Eric asked the manager, how do you get into that tournament? We never heard of it. Eric never played it before. They said, well, it's the next day. We're going to be overnight anyway. And it costs $300 to enter it. So the next day we go, we put up the $300. And Eric, go ahead, what happens?
You reminded me. You're right. I had no clue how to play poker. I never knew how to play poker, at least like in this level. And I worked to my advantage because everybody they couldn't tell I had no clue what I was doing. And I remember all the older people were there. I play every day, and I ended
You were
up
playing so stupid they couldn't figure out.
They couldn't figure. Yeah, they couldn't bluff a guy that has no
Yeah.
clue what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
And from 30 or 40 people down to kept them going. Then final table, it's me there, and I remember the guys approaching me trying to buy me
Yeah, there
out.
were two guys left. They wanted to give you $1,000.
So he told me to sell out.
Take the money.
And I was like, why should I sell this? I can beat this guy. And I remember winning the tournament, the $10,000, and then I got hooked.
But Eric took that gift certificate and entered the big one over Thanksgiving. And Eric got in. You didn't get into the third day.
I got into the third day, but I got knocked out early.
Oh, you got
by Phil
you got
Hellmuth.
into the third day. Like he got knocked out like 36 out of about 5,000 people with Ben Affleck and J-Lo. What's her name? Jennifer Lopez was there. Yeah, she was just sitting next to Affleck. But that was the biggest party I ever went to. Show them what we started. We started a company called Teaching How to Play Texas Hold'em.
Yeah, that's right. We started a little
Eric
company.
has a picture of one of the classes we give, and we'd have about 100 people, and Eric, I, and Brian, and Brian's friend, and we had to bring down about 5 dealers so we can do the tables, and we actually bought the chips, and we spent about $300 on chips just to teach it.
And then I started playing more, and I'm minus $800,000.
So Eric
because
won the satellite like in August, September, and the event is on Thanksgiving. So he had many months to practice. And what Eric did is he went down and went down Atlantic City in the first of the month, the second or third, right in the beginning of the month, and he read books on it. And what he did is he learned that most of the players get nervous and their eyes blink. So you wear sunglasses, and you'll see that when you watch it on TV. And you wear a hat low over the eyes so nobody can see what you're doing when you look at your cards. I mean, that's the way the people who play poker professionally in these contests to win millions. And what he did he found out, I'm not sure how, if you go down to Atlantic City the second or the third day of the month and you play poker, that's the beginning of the month when the older people get their Social Security checks. And they all go to Atlantic City just to play for about a half hour, an hour, just to make $80-90, and they quit. The only thing is they don't know about bluffing, they don't know about sunglasses, they get very nervous, and if they get a pair of aces, for instance, they start to blink, and they start to shake, and they give it away. And Eric would make about $2,000-3,000 the first or second month of each month, and he felt guilty, so he stopped doing it, but he can still do it. And anybody who learned from Eric can go down and make a living just going down a second, or actually the third day of the month. They get the check on the first or second, then they go to Atlantic City on the third. And then what we did is the day of the event, I told you that he goes down there a week before and practice. That's when he sold the $9,500 second time he won the satellite. And we go into the big room, and there's about, I'd say, 8,000-9,000 people who each, that's about half of them, got in through the satellite like Eric, but half of them didn't. They paid $10,000 to get into this huge room, and it takes 3 days to get the winner, and the winner wins $10 million. And anyway, what we did is we made a party. I mean, I called up all my nephews and friends, and I rented a restaurant, not a table. I rented the restaurant for about $9,000, and we had about 150 people. It was like a wedding. It was a gigantic party, and what it is, it started about 6. That's when the contest started next door, in the Sands Hotel. It was the Sands Hotel big poker tournament that was on Channel 5, and was the only party I ever attended where the man of honor that we were celebrating wouldn't show up. Because if he shows up, that means he was eliminated. So it started on Friday, and the contest goes Saturday, and the winner is Sunday. So Friday at 6, we had the party, and we're singing and dancing, and every once in a while, like my nephew would go across the street to see how he's doing and come back that, they're down to 2,000 and he's still in. And we were the happiest people in the world because we thought he was going to win $10 million. And we're all going to have a share of it. He promised to give everybody, $100,000 anyway. And here's a picture, and Eric in action, and he was down to, we dreamed about this. So this is a sort of a vision of the best result. Here we dreamt, and I think we all dreamt the same picture, that he's going to win the $10 million. And here's a picture of him as if he did win the $10 million. And then what happened, the party continued, and he got through the night. He got through Friday night, and Saturday morning, we all had breakfast, and he started again. And he was really he was down to about 50 people. I mean, he was, if you're in the top 20, the 20th guy wins $1 million. And he's down like 35. And disaster. Really, I cry when I think about it. Disaster. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see me crying. Disaster struck, and it was a sad day in our lives. And he was caught cheating. The security camera had every move he made, and even when he had made the mistake of taking off his sunglasses, and that was the end of our dream. And the party was ended very sadly. Nobody stayed for lunch. We didn't have enough money to pay for it. My poker player son, Eric, is not the only gambler in the family. My oldest son, Brian, has been betting on horses thousands of dollars a year for the last 20 years with his bookie, and he wins most of the time. And in 2003, he actually bought a race horse for $40,000, which became a little bit of a scandal. Now, Brian also bets on football games and baseball games. He's a real gambler, but horses is his first love. And when he read in the program that you buy at the racetrack that there was a horse that had a name, my name on it. My name's Sir Charles Schneeball. It was misspelled, but it was just fascinating. He couldn't believe it, and he called up the owner by contacting the racetrack, and also the owner's name appears on the sheet. And he talked to him for a few minutes, and he talked him into selling him, getting the owner to sell him half interest in the horse for $40,000. And the owner said he was willing to do it because he has a lot of horses, and it cost about $30,000 to $40,000 a year to feed and pay the entrance fees. So Brian really put in like a minimum with the understanding that as it wins money over the year, you can keep entrance fees and keep beating it for many years. And a horse can race for 4 or 5 years. And this horse has already been racing 2 years and won once or twice. So anyway, the horse starts to race, and I think he made 5 races. And Brian kept getting the information on a newsletter, and by that time he also had to apply to the New York Racing Commission and show that he's not mafia and he's got a bank account, and he got all those badges, gets him into the paddock. So it was a little exciting that he was a horse owner, and he gets special seats and so forth. But after about 6 months, the horse wasn't winning anything, and the owner said Brian had to give another $40,000, and Brian was a little reluctant to it. And about 2 months after that, the owner calls up and says, or sends a newsletter, that the horse broke down, meaning he fell, and they had to kill it on the track. And that was the end of the investment. But that's only the beginning of the story. Then he got a letter from the Racing Commission and finds out the owner was arrested. He had sold 10 half shares for $40,000 to people like Brian who were curious about buying the horse. He collected $400,000. And if the horse was lucky enough to win, which the trainer made sure he did, if the horse won like $10,000, he'd have to pay out about $500,000 to all the owners. In other words, it was a Ponzi scheme that Brian got into. But at least he knows never to bet on a horse again. And here in the year 2000, my family, on my birthday, took me to Pamplona, Spain, to run with the bulls, and there I am on the left, Eric in the middle, and Brian on the right. And we ran with the bulls. It's about a 3-minute run, and these are a dozen wild bulls that are trained to kill people. This the next day in the front page of the newspaper. There's a picture of me running with the bulls. There I am, blown up, and I didn't even know there was a bull right next to me. I was so panicky. Have to run for 2.5 to 3 minutes, and the bulls chase you down. They maim about a dozen people and kill one every 2 years. There, knock them down. And the 3 minutes runs straight through the town and into a big arena. And here's a picture of Brian acting as if he's a big hero. But he had the uniform, but he didn't run with us. Eric ran with me and saved my life. But Brian was afraid to run with the real bulls, the animal bull. But here, I'll show you what Brian did in a minute. So here's Brian. He ran in a different kind of bull areas, right in the front. And then people were scared about him. He fell down, and here they come. Here they come. So it was really exciting and dangerous up to a point, because they were afraid they would shit on him. And then the big bulls would go into the big arena, and the spectators, Eric and me, would come into the arena and run with the bulls. And Brian took the video from the stands, and there I am running with the bull. And that's I was kind of excited to do that, and I was going to make a career out of it, but everybody said that I didn't do it well, so I retired. This is my oldest son, Brian. You already met my youngest son, Eric. They're 2 or 3 years apart, and we're going to talk about how life was living in Hoboken as a Schneeble. Not only am I a great lover, but I'm also a long-distance runner.
So, Uncle Troy, I understand you ran a marathon.
Yes, I did.
How did you ever get qualified to run a marathon?
I'm glad you asked that. You're my great nephew to ask that question, because I am a born athlete. I did no training at all, and even during the race, I stopped off for a hamburger and the cops kicked me out. But to prepare for that race, you have to enter preliminary races, and here's the result of the preliminary race. It's on their running news. It's a magazine, national, and if you look down to the numbers. It was only about a 10-mile race to qualify for the 26-mile marathon. So you have to run in a good time to do it. And what happened was fate. It was fate. I entered it with my son Eric. We both entered the qualifying race for, I think it was 5 miles. So 5 miles times 6 minutes, about 30-minute race. And of course I never trained it. I'm the slowest person in the world. But what happened is they gave us the numbers, Eric and I, and we had to rush to the starting line. And I know it sounds like I really did it deliberately, I swear. Would I lie to you?
Only when your lips are moving.
Oh. So what happened is I put Eric, by mistake, his number on my belly with the pin. And he put my number on his. Who the hell knows? The numbers mean nothing to me. It doesn't have our name on it. We paid the $10 at the race. So the race goes off, and Eric does really well. And I came in last. But I didn't really come in last. I came in first for the over 70. But it was really Eric. Eric is listed here as dead last. He came, it was 40 minutes for Eric, and Charlie Schnabel came in 28 minutes.
So you cheated.
I cheated. But I was innocent. I was innocent.
Ignorance is no excuse.
Well, the only thing is, on the real marathon, I was going to go on the subway and get, but I couldn't figure out how to hide the sign in Brooklyn. So I went into they had little outhouses to go pee in, and I took the sign off, and I was going to get into the subway, but the subway was like 20 blocks away. So I said, the hell with it. I put the sign back on, and I ran the whole race, and I beat 14 people.
See, that's somebody else even cheated on the marathon.
Well, I don't think you should mention that.
I won't say it. He actually ran the marathon.
First of all, we're going to cut that out.
Okay.
What kind of shit is that? This is the start of the marathon that I entered on my 75th birthday. And there were 40,000 people, and 25,000 of them were men. And where did they pee? It's 4-block long urinal. And then after that, we started the race from Staten Island to Brooklyn on the first. That's the first borough to the second borough, and we go through all 5 boroughs. And in the beginning here, you can see I'm really holding my own, and I had visions of finishing ahead of all the Ethiopians. And here's the race, 26 miles. Started at 9 o'clock, and I got there a little after sunset. And here I am in about 3/4 of the race. I entered Manhattan, and by that time, there weren't many people around, and I was a little nervous that I'm a little bit too far behind, but I found a solution, which the police department wasn't too happy about, but it was my only way of coming in decently. I got Eric to help me out a little bit by taking my number and finishing the race for me in front of the policeman who had pity on me because they just threw me out of the restaurant. I was eating a hamburger in the middle of the race. So Eric took my number and my uniform, and he, right in front of the cops, he was going to finish the race. And that was my only hope of not coming in last. But I did come in. I beat 14 people. The bad news is 37,812 people beat me. All right, now Eric was meant well, but the police said if he doesn't come back, they're not only going to have me disqualified, they're going to arrest me for fraud, to collect all the money if I came in too soon. Anyway, Eric came back, and I finished the race, and I really did well. And they honored me by giving me this plaque. As you can see, I came in 3 minutes, which is I broke all records for my age. And my place was 1,500 out of 26,500. And for my age bracket, I came in 640, 660, 46. And really,
Hold on. Charlie. Is that a sticker I see on that thing? What is that?
Well, what sticker?
There's a sticker right there. You don't see it?
What sticker?
There, look, right. Hold on a sec. Just wait.
What are you
keep
talking
it rolling.
about?
Keep it rolling. I just want this right here. What's that? What are you doing?
What is that?
Hey,
I
look.
swear, I never saw that before.
You gotta be
Shit.
kidding.
All right, so I thought for many years I'm the only Schneeblok that ever ran in a marathon. But 2017, that's this past year, because I'm recording this in 2018, my nephew Jeffrey ran the marathon, and he beat my record time by 5.5 hours. One weekend, a Thanksgiving weekend, Eric was, I think, in freshman year at Ithaca, and he came home for Thanksgiving with 2 classmates. And I guess they lived in New York City too. So it was in the afternoon. I lived in the west side near LaGuardia High School, but west side near all the Broadway theaters. It was like 10 blocks from Times Square. So Eric and the 2 girls went over to the 4 o'clock admission to the David Letterman show. Now what happens to David Letterman? They do a taping at 4 and they show it at night at 11:30, and you have to have tickets or you stand by. So Eric and the 2 girls stood by, for cancellations. And that was what he told me he was going. And I'm sitting back at my apartment on 70th Street, and the 3 of them come running in. And they said, quick, give us clothes. And I had what do I have clothes for 2 girls? So I gave them my underwear. What the hell am I going to give them? I said, what do you want their underwear for and socks? He said, the Letterman producers came out to the waiting line, and they asked people who are not tourists, who were able to leave their hotel. In other words, people like him and the 2 girls who live in the city that were able to get clothes, that they were being selected to go on that night, to go on a bus that night. That's the taping was like on a Friday, to go a whole week to the next Friday to Florida on the bus. And every night they would stop at a different city where the mayor would welcome them, and they'd tape it and show it that night. They'd show it Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday. And they got to the end, and Eric is going to talk a little bit about it now. And Eric was on the television in his junior year, or no, his sophomore year in college. And this is we got a sequence to show it to you. Okay.
Who am I talking to there, sir? You with the microphone. What is your name?
This is Don.
Don, how are you?
I'm doing great.
How's everybody on the big trip?
Hey, they're fantastic.
How's the morale of the group? Are you a little cold?
Pardon?
I say,
Yeah, we're
can
cold.
we both talk together? Why not?
All right, take control, Dave.
So, everybody's feeling pretty good so far?
Yeah.
And how is the food?
It's terrific.
And how is the trip going? Oh, good. How is the trip going? Everybody still okay?
Everybody's great.
Now, Janet, you know that tomorrow is the last day of the big trip. And we want to see you guys get into the Atlantic Ocean. Are you excited about that? Miami 18. There they are getting on the bus. That's them actually on the bus now. There they are getting off the bus. And here, again, looks like a little snack break back on the... Oh, and now they're getting off the bus, being interviewed by a local television show. Good Morning Charlotte. Maybe here they are getting back on the bus. And now there they are driving. What a happy group of folks. Oh, hello. And I believe tonight we're talking with Cynthia Choate. Well, Cynthia, you made the big trip. How's everybody tonight?
Everyone's great, Dave. We've just had an incredible time.
Did you make a lot of friends?
Yeah, we've swapped addresses, and we're going to stay in touch.
Uh-huh. And has it, by and large, been a positive experience?
Absolutely. It's been probably the most positive experience of my life.
It's this close to being a kidnapping. And she describes it as...
Around 1994, Eric was still an undergraduate at Ithaca College, and it was Thanksgiving break, and he came in with two girls from his college, and they were going to try to get into the David Letterman show as standby because it was always sold out. So you wait there, you know, like at 4 o'clock and hope that people cancel. And so Eric is going to tell you what happened after that.
Yeah, so I had some friends come in from Ithaca College, you know, to big New York City, and I thought it'd be fun to stay to show them the David Letterman show. So we stood in line, and the three of us were chosen for a spontaneous, stupid human trick. And that trick was they would take us out of the audience right there and then, no bags, no underwear, no socks, and they'd take us on a week's trip with Tony Randall through the country, and actually, you know, to Taj Mahal to meet Donald Trump.
Well, like Tony Randall introduced you guys that night.
Yeah, it was funny, and then we went on the bus, and we stopped in every state on the way up to Florida, and it was very random, and it was a lot of fun, and we got paid for it.
How much you get?
Probably like a little less than $5,000, $5,000.
Yeah. What I remember about it is that it was Thanksgiving, and I live only about 10 blocks away from Broadway, where the Ed Sullivan show, the theater where the show is taped. You know, it's taped for at night, but it's taped at 4 in the afternoon. And I'm sitting here, you know, he says he's gonna go see it. And they came running in, him with the two girls. They're gonna go because they couldn't take tourists who had too much luggage, had to go back to the hotel. You had to go immediately. So they only had 20 minutes to come to my place and go back. They had nothing, no. So I gave them toothbrushes, and I gave them the girls my underwear. I remember that, I gave my underwear for the week.
Was that clean underwear? Or
Well, that's 25 years ago. To be honest, not all of it.
All right.
And I forgot to mention, Eric is also a professional bodybuilder, and here he is at his lifeguard site, and you can see in the background to his left, someone was drowning because the shark was coming out, and he wasn't even paying attention. He was looking for the girls. Eric, who's the youngest, is a certified lifeguard and worked as a lifeguard in a fancy hotel in New York. During Eric's time at High School for Performing Arts, where he had to take an audition, where it's a famous school, the High School Performing Arts, they made a movie Fame out of it. So he was a student, a very good student, and plus he became a lifeguard. He got his lifeguard license with my urging, and then during the summer, he was looking for a job, I guess in his junior year, and he walked into the fanciest hotel in New York on 57th Street, owned by a French company called the Parker Meridien. It's really one of the exclusive. And they had an indoor, sort of an indoor-outdoor pool on the top floor with a sun deck next to it. and it was on 57th Street. It was only about 10 blocks from my house on the Upper West Side. And then tell them what kind of people were swimming there.
Well, it was a French hotel, so it had some French benefits. Basically, one of them was that they allowed nude sunbathing, of all things, and it was definitely disgusting. You could call it a perk, and basically, all I remember from that job, basically, thank God no one really needed my help to, if they were drowning, because I probably was upstairs gathering towels all the time on that sun deck, or calling you, because we had a deal, and it was kind of a weird deal we had. Something about calling you every time I saw someone on the deck.
Sometimes 5 times a day.
Yeah.
I would go back and forth from the house. I got there in 15 minutes on the bus, I remember. Why would you call me? You wonderful son.
Well, basically, I just want to make sure that people were putting on their sunscreen appropriately. But honestly, in hindsight, I'm an older, more mature person. I think it probably was inappropriate.
But what was
only,
inappropriate? What do you mean?
You should only came by once.
Well, what were they doing sunbathing? That's no big deal.
And you shouldn't be using binoculars looking at them when you're only 3
But
feet
they were
away.
topless. You left out that part.
No, they were totally topless.
Yeah.
And you pretty much had probably the...
Well, I made it come too often. I think you're director of the pool area.
I got in trouble maybe 3 times.
I would come too often and walk up and down with my dark glasses.
Yeah.
And I think it was a lady that ran the pool.
Yeah.
And she told me not to invite me anymore because
Yeah.
I'm a voyeur. And so
A friar.
and so I was kicked out of the sun deck. But I did get away with about 12 of those terracloth
We did steal
bathrooms.
a couple bathrooms.
That's all right. Anyway, it was a great experience, Eric, and that's the nicest thing you ever did for me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, thank you very much.
You got it, buddy. Perfect.
My 3 children are really daredevils, and that's part of the DNA of a Schneebalk. My oldest, my son Brian, my oldest child, is a licensed pilot, and this is some scenes of Brian practicing for his exam around 2005 or 2006. He got the bug because I owned a Cessna 177, a retractable gear, and I kept it in Caldwell near the Washington Bridge, and we lived in Hoboken, and my kids were all like 7, 8, and 9, and we flew all the time. I flew a couple of 100 hours a year, and I bought the plane for $30,000, and I sold it 5 years later for $30,000. You don't lose any money on a plane. You just maintain it, and you get your money back. But Brian took his lessons at the same airport, and Caldwell, that's the name of the airport, and this is some scenes from the airport. And at the same airport, he took his final practice lessons with the instructor to be tested by the Federal Aviation Examiner, and they almost 80-90% pass because the instructors don't send you out for the test until they're sure you're ready, or else it affects their license. So when the examiner comes, it's about $300, and you go up for about an hour, and you make landings, and you try to find other airports, and you get your license. But one of the last practice lessons in the same airport, I went with Brian to see how he, talk to the instructor, getting him ready. And then right next to us was John Kennedy, who was also taking lessons, and it was about a month before he flew when he died on his way to Martha's Vineyard. But my son Brian knew him because they both were students of the same instructor, and it was just John, and John called Brian Brian. There was nothing fancy about it being a Kennedy. But that's the story of Brian's flying experience, and of course you have a license forever, so he still holds it, and I'm trying to get him to fly again. And I also should add that I belong to the UFO, the United Flying Octogenarians. It's about 300 people in the United States, over 80, still have their medical and pass their 2 years, every 2 year pre-flight exam. You got to do it every 2 years. And I'm still certified and I fly. And I'm trying to get Brian to fly again, but he's bringing up kids. He's too busy. But I'm still a pilot. I lacked a pilot in the mid-'80s. My daughter is a parachute jumper. She did, when she was going to Cornell, she made about 10 jumps and was about to get certified before she left to go to law school. But she always had that spunk in her. And here's the scene of many years before she went to college. My daughter Andra, who's getting ready and fitted to do bungee jumping. And I think, as far as I know, she's the only Schneebalk that bungee jumped. And here she is walking up to the top of the jump, and she got scared, and she made it. And she's the first Schneebalk to live to tell the story. She's still a daredevil, and she's still my favorite daughter. And I want to add that I wasn't in here before, but after Cornell, Andra got a full scholarship to Georgetown Law and was even on the standby list for Harvard and Yale, but Georgetown gave her a better scholarship. And she was a practicing lawyer, but in about 2014 or 2013, just a couple of years ago that I'm making this tape, she took me to the Supreme Court, in the United States Supreme Court, and she was sworn in as a lawyer to practice before the Supreme Court. And then after you're sworn in, they do 60 lawyers a month, and you do it before the 9 judges. Then they go into another room to take pictures, and then we went into the other room, and Andra had written ahead that I was coming, and one of the judges came out, the Supreme Court judge came out and hugged me. She was my classmate at Madison High School in Brooklyn, and we graduated in the same class. And all 3 of my children are licensed PADI scuba divers. I mean, they really like the challenges. Now, well, many years before I got married, I got interested in scuba diving and became a certified scuba instructor. And I taught for a couple of dozen people. The only thing is I lost my license because none of them passed the test after I approved them to take the test. I had a little trouble with some of the things. And I made sure that they got scuba lessons from another certified instructor, and I took them on scuba trips. And here they are. There you can see that's Brian and Eric and Andres on the right side. And we went out really deep sea diving, and we went down to 150 feet sometimes. And we used up the tank of air sometimes in 20 minutes because we went so deep. But we were one of the better scuba divers on this trip. And then once we went in the water, you can see the 3 of them in front of me, and there's some other passenger alongside me. I don't know who he is, but I was the one that guided him through it, and we took him down to like 150 feet, which very few people are allowed to go, and we used up the tank of air in about 25 minutes. But as you can see, that we each caught about 3 fish with our bare hands. In your skiing adventures with Eric, did you ever do any helicopter skiing, and where did you go to do it?
We did. We flew into Calgary, and then we slept overnight, and we then took a bus to a helicopter, which flew us into the mountains.
And where did you sleep?
In a huge cabin or a huge hotel in the middle of the woods.
And you had to take a helicopter to get in there?
In and out. Only way in is helicopter, only way out.
Well, what do you do every day? It's a week. You got to stay for a week.
Yes, we did.
And what do? You helicopter ski every day?
We did. And we ate every day, and we did some, and this is my daughter, Brooke, who's a little dirty.
Is she a skier?
Yeah, she's a boarder.
You're a boarder, huh? Wait a minute, you skied?
Every day.
Helicopter skiing.
So
they're all like 30 people in a room for the whole week?
Whole week.
And you can't tell who's rich or who poor?
No, no one even talked.
But they're all experts, because then you have to wear a beeper in case you fell in the deep.
Yeah, in case there was an avalanche, and people do die. Actually, I died when I was there.
Really? It wasn't Eric, was it?
Could have been.
Could have been. But when you fall into that new virgin snow, you disappear. You have to wear a beeper so they can find you. What did that cost? Do you remember? I know what it cost today. What year did you go there?
2001.
In 2009.
And how much did it cost?
Like $3,000 or $4,000.
Because I know that our friend is going there this winter, and it's $12,000 to go there. But you did helicopter skiing for a whole week with Eric.
It wasn't worth it.
It wasn't. Would you do it again?
Nope.
That's it? Brian, is it true that you and Eric once skied with the Olympic training team of a big country in Whistler, Canada?
We did. The Canadian Olympic freestyle team. They trained us.
What ski team?
The Canadian free team.
And what do you mean? When did they do this? What time of year?
You know what? I don't remember. I
It
think
was like August. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, it was in the summer. They ski on glaciers.
So what do you do in the daytime? You can go swimming in the daytime?
You can go swimming in the daytime. They teach you to do jumps into a pool, aerial jumps. Some people play golf.
But this is with the Olympic ski team.
Yeah, that's where they train.
How much it cost you? So it's 1 week, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't expensive because in Canadian dollars back
Well,
then.
did you ever make flips or anything? What did you learn to do?
No, belly flops.
What's a belly flop mean?
Where you don't do a good flip.
But what's this lake? I mean, you jump and
Eric could do it, where you jump into
What do you do? What's the lake got to do with it?
Because if you fall and you fall in the water, it doesn't hurt.
And it's a whole week.
Whole
With
week.
the team. It was extra money though.
Yeah, yes.
So did you try out for the Olympics?
And I made the Olympics.
What'd you come in? What place?
First,
You came in first.
gold medal.
You mean you beat the Jamaican team?
I did.
After Brian's sophomore year, he got a job working the Macy's Day Parade. What does that mean, working the Macy's Day Parade? You're not an employee of Macy's.
No, I'm. You know what? I mean, we may have gotten paid by Macy's, but we work only one day, Thanksgiving Eve. We show up at 7 p.m. in Hoboken, New Jersey, and we put together all the floats. Well, actually, the floats go through Lincoln Tunnel, collapse because they can't be big. We get to New York City about 7 p.m. and we start working. We work from about 7 p.m. to about 4 o'clock in the morning, straight through. No matter rain, shine, no matter what, we're working. We got to put the floats together. If we don't, the parade doesn't go on.
Here's one of the things that took the 6 people. Then they had 6 more, 12 at the end, to put up. And here's another one. These floats are very high. And you can't get through the tunnel. Remember how the tunnel is only about 15 feet high. So this one here probably took 2.5 hours to put up. That's the kind of work they do. Well, what happens at 4 in the morning? What do you do?
Then we get on a bus, and we were working at the Museum of American History, which is on the 81st. We get on a bus, and the bus takes us down to about 33rd Street, where Macy's Day Parade ends. And then we start dismantling when the first float ends at 33rd Street, and we start dismantling to get back through Lincoln Tunnel to go back into Hoboken.
So how many hours is that?
I mean, you're working nonstop. There's no breaks. So we're working from 7 p.m. to about 4 p.m. the next day.
How much you get? How much money?
Back in 1992, we got about maybe $200 or $300.
Oh, but you get a dinner like I did. I got a dinner when I did it.
Yeah, they did. They cut back on that.
Yeah, okay. And now back to Andra, Adventures of Andra, which are kind of spectacular. And here she is, flying a glider. She's a glider pilot, like I am also a glider pilot. And she's taking a flight on this day around she was around 20, I guess. Still in college. And a glider has no engine. So when you have to be towed up to about 4,000 or 5,000 feet by a plane with an engine, then it releases you, and you have to fly down land immediately because there's no engine. You can't stay up in the air unless you catch an upward wind, which is very difficult. So all gliders, airports, are near mountains where there is an upward wind off the mountain, and you try to catch it. And here she is getting tied in. Remember, the plane is very light since there's no engine. And there's absolutely no equipment in it either. There's no radios. You're just on your own up there flying it's like a kite with a cockpit. And there's the plane that tows you. Now, there's a rope between you and the plane, and it's pulled up. And you got to be careful to fly at a level below the engine plane. Because if you fly above it, it won't lift. The plane with the engine will crash. So notice that she's below the plane. Well, it looks to me like she's above it, but she's really below it by a few feet. Now he's going to lift up, that is definitely below, and he goes up to, like I said, 4,000 to 5,000 feet. You pay by how high you go. 4,000 feet is $100, another 1,000, another $50. Then they let you go, and here she's landing in about 15 minutes. That's all you fly if you're going to catch a wind. In other words, as soon as they let you go, you got to start to try to land. And she's landed, that plane, no engine, see? And you got to make sure you have enough speed to get back to where the tie down is, or else you got to pull it by hand. And that's a glider flight that she does. Her 2 brothers do not do this. And there's a close-up of her. And she just finished. Hello, Andra. Hi. Yeah, there she is. Now, here's the other thing that Andra and her brothers did, and it was kind of scary. It's whitewater rafting, and it's in West Virginia around 2008. And here we are. They're me in the boat if you look carefully, and there's Andra. And with the reservoir in West Virginia is let go in the morning, so these commercial rafting companies can go down the rapids. But you got to be careful and hold on. And here, what happens is Andra lost her balance, and her hands came out and hit me, and then I hit the guy next to me. And because of Andra, everybody fell overboard. But one guy was missing. He found out he drowned, but he turned out he was from Arkansas, and he probably voted for Trump, so nobody cared, except the Whitewater Rafting Company said, we can't come back. She meant really Andra can't come back again because she caused that problem. My kids learned to ski in our house. We had a summer house, winter house in the Poconos with all the ski areas, and they all were skiing by themselves when they were 4 and 5 without parents. They really were really talented skiers. But eventually, we loved skiing, and my ex-wife was an instructor at the Concord when she was single. So we're a family of real skiers, and we've skied all over the world. Slovenia in Italy, I forgot the other areas all over the world, including Whistler in Canada, Vail, and so forth. And this was a scene with Andra skiing in Lake Tahoe at Heavenly Valley. And I mean, she was about in her teenage. My boys are around the same age as I told you before. And we bought a 6-day pass, so it's cheaper to ski for 6 days, but you got to buy the package. And on the 5th day, we were skiing, and as you can see, Andra, trying to keep up with her brothers, had one hell of a flop and she hurt her elbow. But she finished the day, it was next to the last day, and she came in for lunch, and she was saying it hurt her a little bit. But I said, a little upset, as a father should be, that if it doesn't hurt you that much, you got to come back tomorrow because I got a 6-day package. It's only a 5th day. You got to ski tomorrow. So the next day, we went skiing, and it was still hurt her, so we put it in a sling. So she skied with one pole, and she skied all day on our last day ticket, complaining about the elbow. But I told her to shut her mouth. We had to ski. But when we went back the next day to New York City, it was really hurting. We took her to a doctor, and she broke her elbow. I made her ski with a broken elbow. Is that a good daddy? And here she is when she has a cast, and just put her an affectionate word about me and her cast. That's my daughter, Andra, the great skier. Now, a few years later, Andra, her kids, and me skied at Squaw Valley, which is in 2017, and they had the Olympics here around 15 years ago, so it's really a very dangerous area. But Andra went on the Black Diamond to show off to her brothers and me. No, her kids. That's with her kids. Oh, shit. And here she is. And this is how she ended up, really in bad shape. So we had to get the stretcher with the first aid and bring her down. They took an X-ray, and we found out she had broken a bunch of bones, especially in the anterior cruciate ligament, the ACL, which a lot of professional football players get. And it takes 2 years to recuperate. And here she is. For the first 3 months, she couldn't eat or pee, but after about 12 weeks, everything started to feel better. 6 years before the ski accident, Riley had an accident in a gymnasium, and he was also put in a cast, but he was put in the cast for 6 months and had to be carried around in that exact position until it healed. And here is both of them had casts, but hopefully that's the end of that kind of an accident in that family. Is it moving? Yeah. Yes. This is at Radio City Music Hall, and this is the tree, and there are my 3 grandchildren. I just came and saw the Rockettes, and look at the tree. Anyway, I would thank you for taking our picture. The stranger took the picture, and she ran away with the camera. I'm going to get it back. Radio City Music Hall on New Year's Eve day, and we're going to go see the Rockettes. And those are my 3 little granddaughters. And look at the chandelier up there. Look. Take a look. Wow. All right, well, our tickets are in the ladies' room. We couldn't get any seats, so you got to stand in the ladies' room. Anyway, what do you say about this? What do you say?
Okay, Papa, no.
Churn, chop, pound, pop, time to make the fudge. Snap, snip, whisk, whip, let your stomach be the judge. Boiled meat, I turn up the heat, 'cause everyone loves fudge. Auf Wiedersehen, Augustus Gloop, it's time to say goodbye. You great big green nincompoop, it's time to fudgeify.
It's Meadow's birthday. She's 6 years old, and we're gonna go see the show.
This is my son Riley. He's 8 years old. He likes soccer and skateboarding, and he's just starting baseball Little League. He likes to read things about science and animals, and he likes to ask questions, mostly about space and astrophysics.
Can he ski?
He likes to snowboard. He went skiing with me once for a whole week in Austria, and he went skiing and he didn't like it, so now he goes snowboarding. And he taught himself mostly, and he really enjoys that. This is Tesla Elizabeth. She's 5 years old. She's in kindergarten. She loves to do artwork and painting and writing and drawing, and she loves to say nice, kind things and to be happy and to sing songs. And she's very good to me and her brother Riley.
Let me talk to her. What class are you in, Tesla? What class in school?
Kindergarten.
Oh, and Riley, what class are you in?
3rd grade.
And when are you going to be 9?
Next month.
Oh, okay.
What do you want?
Horses for the 10th race in Monmouth Park on July 9th. And this race, I'm not sure you can jockey. Come here, here are the jockeys for the 10th race. Here are my 2 jockeys. And the race is called the Charlie Schneebuck Amazing Race.
Our only problem is I'm 40 pounds overweight as a jockey, and he's 70 pounds overweight as a jockey. So our horses are going to have to work.
We got a big horse.
Buenos dias.
Come here, let me come here. There's the track.
Yeah, Eric wants you.
Here's our, keep taking my picture.
I know.
Are you the hostess?
I'm ready to take you into the circle. Yep.
Okay. Let's go. Watch me. We have 6 people.
Here's the field. Number 2 is Unrepentant with Orlando Boccaccini.
You see who it's You see who that's named after? So this is the when the horse wins, I give him the trophy, the Charlie Schneebuck Great Trophy. I think I know the jockey. Here he is. He's the jockey.
This is the jockey.
Here's the jockey.
No, you gotta stay right here. Okay? Where are my guys?